I love football.
I bloody love football, don't I?
Back of the net.
Desire. Hungry. And a lot of times I use the word horny to my play.
When we make clean sheet, I pay to everybody a pizza.
No. You have to make a decision in relation to that, because I need to know from you what is the most important thing. If it is to play well, or if it is to win matches.
We've shown wonderful character this week.
You are listening to Postable Sport, our League of Ireland 2022 season previews. This is the most important preview that we'll do all year. It's the Finn Harps preview, Postable Sport's own League of Ireland club, our favourite one. We have the winner of the Postable Sport Post-it for the Media Officer of the Year for the last 2 years, Ethan, who runs the Finn Harps Twitter account. Ethan, thanks very much for coming on. I realise I pronounce your name as if you're eating something. I can't seem to get the TH in there, so apologies for that. That's going to be a running thing throughout the whole show.
No, that's fine. I've lived in Dublin long enough that you're not the first person to kind of say it like that. But thanks for having me on. It's great to come on to help out with such great supporters of the club.
Yeah, absolutely. We tweet regularly about Finn Harps, and of course Finn Harps won the league last March, according to our website. They were top of the league midway through their second game of the season. So I guess looking back at last season, there was actually a time early in the season where we were thinking, could this be a very good season for Finn Harps? And at the end of the day, it wasn't a bad season. It was stayed up, weren't too uncomfortable in the end. Well clear of the promotion playoff or the relegation playoff. But how do you look back overall on last season?
Last season, I guess at first, I was making sure my passport was renewed, ready for the, go to Estonia or something the following summer, but it didn't really pan out. I think, to be honest, last season was a strange one because it was such a competitive league, as everyone saw, bar Longford, everyone else was so kind of tight together. And really, if we'd got a couple of results, another way or hadn't maybe dropped points, we could easily have been fighting, 4th, 5th, 6th, So that's the kind of the constant memory, I think, is that there were so many great results against, Shamrock Rovers. I think the only team we didn't beat was Drogheda. Beating Dundalk second game of the season. There's some great comebacks. The Dundalk Cup game where we scored, we had 10 men for an hour and we scored twice in the last 5 minutes to, force a replay. And obviously that didn't pan out, but even that was just a dynamite moment. So I think all the fans, would kind of look at it fondly. Although we came 8th and we had to beat Longford on the final day, it felt like a much more successful season. We, played some really good stuff. We're in most games. We had a good chance of winning. And like I said, I think if maybe, we had a bit more time, or if we'd been kind of maybe more lucky with injuries, we might have picked up a couple more points and be able to kind of push on the table a bit further.
Yeah, like you said there, it was quite tight. I mean, people will look at it and final day had to beat Longford, as you said. But at the end of the day, it was kind of, I think there was a goal difference of about 7 or something in the difference. So it would have taken quite a bit. That's about as much as Waterford lost to Drogheda by. So it wasn't exactly uncomfortable. I mean, it's never nice to be in a relegation fight towards the end of the season, but it was probably the most comfortable Harps have been in a little while.
Oh yeah, which is I guess saying something, because although you say that now, but at the time I remember going up and thinking we should beat Longford. We were way better than Longford, but we drew with them our first 2 times we played them during the season, and I was like, are we gonna really bottle this and end up in trouble? I think the Harps fan probably is the eternal pessimist in me. I was, waiting for the bad thing to happen, but thankfully it was a great occasion. 5-0 win. We had Luke Rudden, an academy graduate, scored his first goal for the club. With kind of 1 minute left to really put the cherry on top of the cake. So thankfully we didn't end up in the playoff, because we all saw what happened to Waterford then.
No one dedicated a goal to us, unfortunately, but we're hoping that this season maybe someone's going to dedicate a goal or a win to PostToPost Sport as the number one as one of the number one Finn Harps podcasts. But looking at this season, then a lot of good signings. I mean, the teams the team's pretty strong. There have been outgoings as well. Yo-Yo Maddie in particular, fantastic signing. So I mean, it's easy to be pretty optimistic anyway going into this season.
Yeah, I think so. I think as I run the socials, I kind of gauge a lot of the kind of fan response and feedback to different news because I just have it come on my phone all the time. And, there were a lot of outgoings and people really loved that team we had last year and really kind of fell in love with some of the players like, your Mark Coyles and Tunde Owolabi and even like kind of the likes of Siddiqui and O'Sullivan have been there a couple of years, Will Seymour. And, they were very much kind of fan favorites and felt like part of the community. And so to see, those players not resign and we weren't announcing many players at the time, it definitely, kind of fostered some discontent. But I think the reality of this league is that, last year was the first year we actually kept a bulk of a squad together. And, we don't have the luxury of paying, multi-year deals or, maybe over the odds wages because we're a fan-owned club and everything we do is kind of off our own back. So I understood the frustration, but kind of Ollie is notorious for pulling rabbits out of well-worn hats and scouring the globe, as it turns out, in search of talent. And I've been to a couple of the preseason friendlies, and the new lads look through the business. They look really good. Obviously, new team will take time to gel, and hopefully they can hit the ground running because we have Drogheda and UCD right out of the gate, who you'd perceive would be maybe rivals down the kind of the lower half of the table. But Devin, like you said, Yo-Yo Maddie's a fantastic player. Bastian Eri, was more kind of would have been fighting off all clubs not too long ago. Who hasn't had maybe the best time the last year or two, but if anyone can kind of get him playing, Ollie can. People have said the same about the likes of Webster or Ryan Connolly. They've been fantastic for Finn Harps. And you've got the extravagant Jose Carrillo, Errol Erdal Alkin, Filip Mihajlovic. It's I pity the stadium announcer and some of the commentators this year, I think.
Yeah, they're not names you typically associate with a club in Donegal, but things are looking good. And like you said, though, there are a few big losses. So the start of the season is important because these new players have to gel. We always see it, new players coming in, and sometimes teams just take a little bit to gel. Do you feel like the new signings have settled in so far?
From what I've seen, definitely, and I think a lot of them have been in since day dot, so they were in on January 2nd. So they've had a month already, and will be here 6 weeks by the time kickoff rolls around. Obviously, there's probably to an extent maybe some language barrier. Maybe not all of them are probably fluent English speakers. So there's a bit of a workaround there, but at the same time, you have a lot of experience still in this spot with the likes of, Webster, Ethan Boyle, Barry McNamee, Ryan Connolly. We did lose quality, but if you look at some of those names, they're still top quality, Premier Division talent. And that's, the starting point, not counting some of the new lads that have come in. So I have no doubt that Ollie will have them well drilled, know what they're at, come kickoff.
What kind of football are we going to see in Ballybuffet? I can nearly ask you two questions. What kind of football are we going to see when it's lashing rain, and what kind of football are we going to see when the weather's good?
That's a very good question. I think, look, I don't know. I'm not the manager, but it's hard to imagine the likes, I can imagine some really delightful link-up play between the likes of McNamee, Harry, Connolly, Mark Timlin's fit again, so that's a big boost to have. Obviously, when the rain's pouring and it gets to kind of September, October time, we come into our element. So you might see a bit more agricultural style then. But I've no doubt we mixed it up because even last year, I think we had this reputation for hoofball, route one, and this, that, and the other, which to an extent that's not untrue. But we scored some fantastic goals last year. One comes to mind is the goal against Shamrock Rovers, the team goal Jordan Musto scored, where it was a sequence of fantastic one-touch passes. So the quality's there, and Ollie will let them play. So I'm curious to see myself, to be honest.
Yeah, it seems like we could. I mean, what's a good season? What's a good season for Finn Harps? It seems like often it's a case of stay in the league. But what are the expectations you think of the camp?
So this is a very much a two-pronged question because there's my thoughts, hopes, and aspirations as a fan that loves the team, loves the club, and then there's what Ollie would shoot me for saying. So he'll say that avoiding 10th place and the playoffs, so be it, 8th would be great. I think it's impossible to say really, having not seen maybe how some of the new lads bed in and how the team gels. But I think there's definitely a quality there. So I would be cautiously optimistic that you'd be looking again, maybe the 7-8 mark, depending on how people bed in. I think if you look around the league, a lot of teams have holes. There's been a bit of a drain of talent around the league, I think. And I think most teams, if you look, they're missing one or two bits of depth or key players in important positions. So maybe there'll be a team like, just as example, Sligo or whoever. I'm not saying they'll be bad, but they might be less good than they were last year and be dragged into that end of the table, and we might kind of end up above them the way things pan out. It's hard to know.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season now. What about the cup? Is the cup any kind of priority this season? Is a cup run a possibility of sorts?
I wouldn't say it's a priority, but I know that when the lads lost, so the last two, well, especially not the year just gone, but in 2020 when we lost to Shamrock Rovers in the quarterfinal, having been 2-0 up, and they got 3 penalties in 10 minutes or something. And I know that really was a gut punch to a lot of the lads, because they knew they were good enough to win that game, and they thought if they won that, semi-final would be a home draw against Sligo and Derry, who weren't great that year, and they fancied themselves to do that, and they really thought they had a chance to go to the final. And even, to be honest, last year, we were probably the better team against Dundalk in normal time in the replay, but then they blew us out of the water in the replay, and all credit to them, they deserved to go through. But again, I think that really stung, because they thought we could have taken care of business in regular time. Then you're into a semi-final, one-off game, who knows what's going to happen, and same with the final. So I think it'll depend. If it gets to the stage where you get to a quarter-final and have a draw you think you can win, or a favorable draw, then I think it's only natural for Ollie won't say this, but players, fans, whoever, to kind of think, if we can get this, then Shamrock Rovers lost, so they're not going to be in the semi-final, and you can kind of dare to dream, as they say.
Yeah, I think that's always the thing about the cup. When once you get past once you get to about the quarterfinals, it seems like anyone there can win it. As for yourself covering the league, how do you like to approach your media? You always like to have a lot of fun covering Finn Harps. As we said, you're our favourite media officer. How do you like to you like to have your fun with Finn Harps? Finn Harps' Twitter account.
Yeah, I think that's part of the crack. I know everyone has different views on this, and sometimes I'll get people will say that it's very unprofessional for X or Y to said in a club account, and they're entitled to their opinion. But I think especially during the pandemic, when games were behind closed doors, I almost wanted fans to feel like when they were watching on the LOI TV streaming service that I was watching along with them, if that made sense. People weren't able to go and see their friends or whatever. So it was the account was a fan watching the game, being a bit maybe over the top about things. And also, I just think it's not that serious. Social media should be fun. I think I came on board, and there's a bit of kind of disconnecting the fans. And it should be something people can be like, oh, did you see the tweet they put up, or the video they did for the jersey was really cool, or I maybe Finn Harps get away with something that other clubs can't, and I'll acknowledge that, but I definitely like to have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's understandable. You said being professional there. I mean, you're a volunteer at a amateur club, so it's understandable to not be too professional at the same time. But yeah, look, all the best this season. Finn Harps is certainly our favourite team. We're not going to be too unbiased in reporting how much we love Finn Harps. Finn Harps in the League of Ireland, DLR Waves in the Women's National League, the teams will die for. How are you looking at the rest of the league this season? Who do you think? Everyone we've asked so far has pretty much said Shamrock Rovers favourites for the league. The person we had on for Shamrock Rovers said they think it's a 4-horse race. How are you looking at the upper end of the league table?
I think anyone that doesn't say Shamrock Rovers is lying to themselves. But even if you look at how good they were last year, and even they had a couple of kind of disappointing runs or a couple of bad results back to back, and then if you look, if Jack Byrne coming back, you know what I mean? Like that's all be realistic here. Jack Byrne's an absolutely fantastic player, and even him, never mind, other players. That's a great signing for them to have. And they were so far ahead of everyone else last year that I find it hard to believe they won't be that again. I know Derry have strengthened massively, and they'll be fancying themselves. Pats have brought in some good players too. You have the I guess maybe the resurgent Dundalk under Stephen O'Donnell. They might kind of improve, but I don't think any of them will pose a real genuine threat to Shamrock Rovers.
And which is the bigger rivalry then when they arrive to Ballybuffet, Sligo or Derry?
Oh, always Derry. Always Derry. No, I'd like to beat both of them. And I make no bones about that. But there's definitely that extra bit of kind of niggle with Derry. Just they've had at one point the derby was one of the most one-sided in football in their favour. So there's definitely a bit of that. And they've signed very well. And so I'll be curious to see how the money they've spent pans out for them.
Yeah. It's almost as big as the derby between the two Twitter accounts at Dublin County and at Dublin County 1. It's almost as big as that.
Almost, yeah.
I can't believe that really happened.
Did you forget? Yeah, God, was that 5 years ago at this stage? It's the pandemic means everything's kind of run into one.
Maybe someday we'll have an Atlantic FC. Maybe someday to rival Finn Harps. But Ethan, thanks very much, and hopefully we talk to you a few times during the season. And all the best, and keep up the good work on your social media.
Yeah, thanks very much, and I'll come on whenever. Just give me a shout.
At PostToPost.Sport on Twitter and Instagram, and remember to subscribe to our YouTube. You can get all our other League of Ireland previews and our Women's National League content as well, and it's PostToPost.Sport.Blog.